Get the wrong login on there. Yeah. It's like, oh, it got changed.
It's
like,
maybe why it's not working.
Right?
Sorry, are we live or not?
1 second. I just have to mute this. Mute. We are live, and I'll go back to. Okay, yep, we're live.
All right, I'll call Tuesday, September 12th Land and Water Conservation Committee meeting to order. Roll call. Tim has to be excused this morning. Kim will be running a couple minutes late. We'll move on to approval and repair of the agenda. If everybody has a chance to look at today's agenda. So I'll need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Nick, second by Derek. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Approval and repair of last month's minutes. If everybody had a chance to look at last month's minutes. Any corrections or additions?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as read or as written.
Motion by Nick. Second by Derek. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. We'll move on to public comment. We'll do 3 minutes per person. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak? Nancy?
Nancy Utosh, Tom Pierce. It's been a year since I've requested that Tucker Birch come in and talk to the community about the research that he did here that shows that there's illness taking place with our residents here due to fecal matter in our water, causing gastrointestinal illness and other problems with your health. And that request has still not been appropriately answered by this committee or any other individuals. A year is a long time to wait. Aaron, it's been 4 months since your false memory syndrome kicked in and you said you sent an email to me, which was not discovered by your corporate counsel in any record search or anything else. So I don't feel that this request has been adequately answered, and I appreciate an answer. If the chair is unable to fulfill this request, then I think it's very important this committee, Davina, that you step up and give her an appropriate answer as to why Tucker Birch can't be brought in here locally to impacted residents. I understand you had a meeting in Stevens Point, which I think again points to the cowardice of this community and county, in that these types of presentations are held in areas where even the residents here who wanted to attend Stevens Point, that was a closed meeting. So I do again request Tucker Birch come to our community and talk about his research. It is not the same as Mark Borkhardt's research. The other thing I'd like to talk about today is the idea that a lot of outside waste from places like Denmark and new organics comes into our community. A lot of the farms use that for their digesters. And I think it's really important that this committee and this Land and Water Department does not skirt the responsibility as far as PFAS contamination. And whatever you need to do to start the conversation or stem PFAS coming to us from outside sources, such as new organics or any other industrial waste that are brought here from outside our community, PFAS needs to become a conversation we're having here. And we also need to be testing wastes that are coming into our community and are being land spread and are ending up in our water. So I hope that this committee puts this on your agenda, and if you feel like you don't have the tools to address this, you speak to the EPA or any other agencies that can help us begin this process so that we're not accepting waste that are contaminating our land and water here in Kewaunee County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else from the public that wishes to speak? Anybody else from the public that wishes to speak? Yes.
Sue Weiser from the town of West Kewaunee. Leaving them out on a limb, I believe, is what this committee is doing to the residents of Kewaunee County. I asked for a performance review last month, but there is none. The status quo motion of 2021 appears to be working well for most members of the Land and Water Committee. Some of the public's comments and questions were answered in the minutes of August 2023, and I hope this will continue, though it seems to be an initiative from the department and not through any encouragement from the majority of committee members. I am interested in the results of the latest well testing. I was unable to meet at the Tuesday night meeting, or Monday night, or the 6th last week, and especially the results of the 20 special wells. And I hope you don't shortchange the Land and Water Department during the budget process, like you have done in the staffing area. And I'm continuing my why questions. Why? Why did you not seek and hire an intern for the department as you decided in October of 2022? Why haven't you developed an enterprise fund for the Land and Water Department, like the Parks Department is doing? The Land and Water Department has fee and fine money. And why have you, Chairman Augustine, let 4+ months elapse with no attempt to clear the air and put your mistake behind you, having provided no email to substantiate your claims to Nancy Utesh, nor issued a written apology to her? Explain the motive or problem on your part as to why you're procrastinating. Why the hesitation? Why the lack of even common courtesy? You made the comments on the public's dime and time. You were so compassionately concerned about looking out for the taxpayers when you voted against the jail. Now exercise some of that compassionate concern for another taxpayer and acknowledge your mistake and put the episode behind you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public that wishes to speak? Anybody else from the public that wishes to speak? Is there anybody else from the public that wishes to speak? Hearing none, we'll close that. Agenda item number 5, we'll move on to the department reports. We'll turn it over to Davina.
All right, so for animal waste storage permits, there was 2 for August. Augustine Farms pulled a permit for a stand separation building transfer system, and Elna Farms pulled a permit for a manure storage and leachate collection system. Both of them are going to private engineers, so they met all the criteria and the permits were given. NR 151, little slower right now just because the crops are on the field, so we can't see a lot of what's going on. So we did 12 walkovers for a little over 1,200 acres. 10 were in full compliance, 2 need compliance schedules, and those were for the 5-foot tillage setbacks, and 1 needs possible manure storage, wastewater collection. We did 2 joint walkovers with DNR on 2 sites, and that just opens up some new possibilities for grants. And so we're going to be doing some trim grants. These are smaller operations, less than 100 cows. So we're going to do some trim grants and get them into compliance. Last month, I reported that Travis sent out 4 letters for non-farmland preservation members that were in non-compliance. All 4 of those landowners are now in compliance. And we've been working with them on stacking locations, how to manage manure, just really doing a lot of education with them. We did 4 hauling audits, manure hauling audits. 1 missed a few setbacks to wells. That one will be going probably shortly to Corp Council. DNR Warden had 1, but all when Travis went out there, all the setbacks were met. There's no ponding and pooling. And then he visited a problematic field that we've had in the past and all setbacks and rates from that. So that was good. Still working on 2024, our farmer education, our nutrient management grant. Again, with the loss of Brad Holtz, we're taking on new participants that once went through NWTC to write their nutrient management plans, who will be now coming into Kiwanee. We're only doing the Kiwanee folks. So we're trying to help Dorr and Brown set up the same kind of thing that we're doing so that they can take in the influx of their residents. No conservation plans for approval, nothing with public health. And groundwater protection ordinance, chapter 39, no update yet. Bodwin's should be going to Port Council, and then the one other one that he found the missing setback. So that should be hopefully done by next month where I can give an update. Well testing updates. So we had our education program on September 6th. There's about 50 people here, so that was great. Presentation is on our website. And okay, so overall we had 292 participants. There was 4 E. coli positive, so 1.4%. They were pretty spread out. 2 were from their own animals on site, being really close to their well. And then 2 were still kind of looking in. There was no land applications. We're looking into the septic systems on some of those. So we're working with the 2 landowners. One had a really, really old well. It was built in the 40s. So we're working, I think he's going to be eligible for well count, and we'll get him hopefully a new well through well count. Overall, 26.3% of wells were unsafe. And that was due to bacteria, coliform, and/or nitrates greater than 10 parts per million. So this number is actually lower than like our 30%, which is usually kind of our rolling average. And this was actually, this grant that we did and the wells that we were testing, this was targeted. So I targeted Casco where I knew wells were bad. So this number is skewed. So being lower and having it skewed is a really good indication that things are getting better on the landscape with well testing. If I took out the nitrates just in the village of Casco, the overall percentage of unsafe wells dropped to 19.4%. So again, you know, I was targeting wells, I was targeting people that I knew had high nitrates and their neighbors. So say I had high nitrates, I was targeting the neighbors around them to see how big of an area was impacted. I haven't gone through a lot of that information because I've been working with the village of Casco. Specifically for the village of Casco nitrates, some are really starting to trend downwards from July and October of 2022, now that we're actually getting some trending data. Some in our areas where there's the highest contamination went down over 10 parts per million. So like from 30s to 20s or 40s to 30s. They're still unsafe, so we've got a ways to go, but some of them are really starting to trend and take big steps down. I don't know if that was just a fluke because of how dry the season was, but we are targeting all these wells again for our October testing. October testing will be done on October 16th. And we are open for registration. I believe we have just under 70 people registered right now. Again, I'm really trying, I've got most of them in Casco that tested in July to retest so that we can continue to monitor the trends. The 20 samples for the human bovine, I do not have anything yet. The lab is hopeful by the end of the month that they'll get that information to me, but I don't have anything on that yet.
That done at Stevens Point too, or do they
Yes,
send those?
no, that was done in Stevens Point. Any questions on well testing? And the presentation is online, so it's all on the website. Zoning and sanitary have been busy. 9 soil inspections, 8 septic inspections, 6 permit applications. Zoning, I don't have the update, but we have 2 zoning Board of Adjustment meetings this month. For this week, we have 1 tonight and 1 on Thursday. So those who want to build, the one is a property they want to build, I think like 5 feet from a lot line instead of 10 feet. This all goes through the Board of Adjustments, who's ran by Randy Hallett. They make the decisions. We're just kind of the intermediate in between. So we have 2 of those this week too. Spreadsheet. So for our sanitary septic inspections, so we have 55 that haven't done, that are not installed yet. So if you go to the next column, that makes, so those 8, the total of not inspected or no soil evaluation, all 8 of those have been referred to court counsel. So those all went to court counsel. I was talking with the sheriff's department yesterday. Those citations should be going out today. And those are the ones that never got anything done. So they didn't contact us. They didn't get a soil evaluation done. Their system could pass, but they never got their soils done. So those all went to court counsel. The 47, those are the ones that got their soil evaluations completed by their deadline. And now they have a deadline for installs. We got 47, and a lot of those have, that number has gone down since yesterday, actually, when I went through the who installed. So that'll be an update for next month. But we've had quite a few installing, pulling permits. So these 47 are definitely been working with us so that they don't. So yeah, we're doing really good on that one. We're almost done. So
On those 47, then it says the soil evaluation failed, and that's so they'll be going to a more of a storage type tank to be pumped on a regular basis.
no, so their soil evaluation failed on their current septic system. So like their current mound system. So those were installed prior to, I can't remember the date, I think it was 85. So in our ordinance, anything prior to 85, they have to have a soil evaluation done. If that soil evaluation passes, it's fine. If it doesn't pass, then they have to put in a new system according to state law. So these 47 have to install a new system because their evaluation
Of the old system.
of the old system, correct?
So when we talk about a failed old system, if we're talking about a mound system, do they remove that mound system, put a new one in
Yes.
place, or do they move it over?
Nope, they
They can
remove
put
it.
it-
Yeah, they remove it and build a new. Yep. And that's all through the installers. So they do the mound system, kind of like a manure storage system, and then it has to get approved by the state, and then they do the install. When they do the install, either Travis or either Paul or Andrew are on site looking at soils and stuff like that. So we're making progress. Have pulled their permit. And then the not before, well, we had 78 letters of the 94, and it's gone up. So I'm trying to get all 94 to give me a letter saying, and signing it, it has to be, you know, a letter saying, yes, no one's living there, it's not in use. So we will continue to watch those. I'll probably send those out yearly, just so that I have their, you know, and if someone does move in and living there, I can say, hey, you signed that it wasn't, you know, so you have to install. So that's been going pretty well. Oh, go ahead.
I have a question on, you know, we track sanitary systems. This is back to nutrient management. We're running at what, 94% compliance in the county on nutrient management, somewhere in there roughly.
We're like 89, 90-ish.
That 10% that isn't, are we working with those farmers, or what is the plan to try to get the rest?
Yeah, so a lot of those farmers are butting heads with us. So we're slowly trickling down the list. We're dangling the farmland preservation carrot. Some of the larger cash cropper operations, we can't make them unless we have cost sharing available. So we can't just go to them unless they have like a discharge or an issue, then we can implement the R-151. So we are working with them, especially as we have the ANAP 9 key element plan. We've been looking at who doesn't have nutrient management. A couple of those walkovers to the DNR are up in that area. And now we're doing the Kiwani 9 key element plan. So we really know like who has animals, who needs a nutrient management plan. You know, when we pull it up on the air photo, if we see stacking of manure, that can get us on site. So yes, we are slowly trickling down that list to get a higher percentage.
And then I have one question back to the well testing, the
Mhm.
4 E. coli positives.
Mhm.
Does our department work with those 4 well owners to try to get a remedy, get it fixed, or is that up to the homeowner to move forward and get a well
So
inspector in?
we contact them right away once we hear that there's an E. coli positive. The lab called them because I was out of town, so they talked to them, talked about not drinking the water, et cetera. And then, yeah, so they're given all of our contact information. Cindy and our office send out a half-mile radius letters to anyone within, you know, that half mile of that house to see if there's any other hits. A lot of people did pull samples through the health department and we did not have any other hits. So then we kind of look around site, like the one with the animals and the old well, he called me, he goes, yeah, I know why I have an E. coli positive, my well's really bad and I have my animals around there. So, you know, we talked about that. So I think I talked to 2 of the 4 because they're sent a letter from the lab with Kevin's information and my information. Because some want to talk right to the lab, some want to call us. So I automatically send Travis out to all 4 sites just to do a review of what's on the field, what's on the land, anything been land spread. And then we kind of go from there. So then continuing to answer questions from the public comments. The public comments that were from last month. The first one was Cedron Kinnard Farm should be should not be an open cycle and allowed to be discharged to the creek. Why is that not closed? Our office can't dictate whether it's closed or open. They have to operate within their DNR permit. So the DNR allows CAFOs to discharge, and that is the route that they went. We have no authority to make an operation, collect all the water if it's not, or if it's stricter than the state law. So their WPDS permit is stricter than our current authority. So they got the approval through the DNR permitting process. And the second question was they wanted to see the DADCAP 5-year presentation that was made. DADCAP no longer requires an official presentation for the 5-year review, only the 10-year update. I attended the DADCAP meeting. I gave a verbal update and I answered questions to the board. There was a booklet that I had to send to DADCAP, and I can give you that, but there was no presentation. I literally sat down and just was answering questions. Why have we not enacted Chapter 38? This topic was addressed by the LCC in March of 2023 minutes. Why are the fees for LWCD that we raise not given back to our office? Fees and budgets are all determined by the county board and where they get deposited and how they get used. So that is all through the finance executive and county board. We submit our fees, they go to the line items that they are, and whether or not they're given back to the committee, that is a board decision. And not all departments can make money. So like veterans, they don't have money coming in. So our office provides to a general fund, but there's all these other, highway brings in a lot, parks brings in a lot. Cindy can have quite a bit in public health, but there's a number of different other areas that's where that general fund kind of goes so that they can keep the other departments going that don't have an influx of fees. But that's all determined by county board. Why did LWCD not hire an intern for the summer? That was my decision. I decided not to seek an intern. However, Glacierland really needed interns, so that we're working in Kewaunee County for invasives, and he's gonna be speaking soon. So I did seek interns to help fill that Glacierland position, who did the invasive species within our county. So I really helped push them, push their press releases that they sent to us to get them interns. PFAS, we received new information from the DNR. They issued a press release that I received yesterday. I sent it to the entire committee and I sent it to Cindy Kinnard. I put it on our website. I didn't dive into it too much, but there is an interactive map where you can pull up Wisconsin, and it shows the different sites that are testing for PFAS. There's 3 in our county, and it's the 3 municipal wells of Luxembourg, Algoma, and Kewaunee. So I didn't really look into that so much, but it's all over the state. And on Wednesday night, when Kevin was here, they were talking about the DNR has been pulling private wells and are looking at PFAS in some private wells. I don't know whether that's throughout the state, if it's targeted in an area yet, but we'll be looking into more of that on what they're finding. But that is on our website, and it's a whole interactive mapping tool from the DNR. That is all I have. Any questions for me?
Questions for me?
On the new one that's being referred to Corp Council, the hauling audit that occurred with
Yes.
4 setbacks not met well, I believe.
Yes.
Do we know what those distances are, or can we not say at this time because they're referred to Corp Council and that needs to take place first?
Yeah, so Travis is still writing them up, but we do measure all the distances. I believe DNR was also out there. So I don't have that official report yet, but once that official report is done, then we can, yeah, I can share that with the committee too.
Any other questions for Davina? If seeing none, we'll move on to cooperating agencies. USDA, NRCS, I don't see anybody here. Jason's not here from NRCS. So we'll move on to BW Extension. Erica.
Howard is going to be holding a meeting, a training, and Davina, he said that he
Yeah, I
needs
have
to
it.
still get in touch with you about
Yes.
this, but they'll be holding a training sometime mid-October for those farmers on Anapee Watershed. It's a soil health event. And the farmers will get a compaction probe. This is provided by the DNR, a compaction probe, soil thermometer, filtration rings, and the speakers will be the topics, I should say, basic health concerns, rainfall simulator demonstration, improving soil health, does it increase yield, what soil health looks like, and so they'll be looking at roots. So I suppose there'll be a soil pit, and I bet. And other, let's see, and then basically an informational session on how to use the soil health kit. So again, that'll be mid-October coming up.
Yeah, he's on my list to call today. So
Is there a is that a?
I don't think
field
he
or-
had, I think it's an on-site thing. He does not have a location set because he just called me about it on Friday. But he's done this a couple of other times in the local area. They did it west of Green Bay and then kind of in central Wisconsin as well. So that's coming up. And other than that, anything else? We've got corn dry down coming up tomorrow. So if anybody's got corn to bring in, be at Brattle Creek Feed Mill over here in Luxembourg at 9 a.m. to noon. That's all I have.
Queen Sweep?
Oh, yes, Clean Sweep is, excuse me, sorry, that was not on my list, but I wanted to talk about it. Clean Sweep is set for Saturday, October 21st. Collection site will be here at the fairgrounds. It's for everyone. You do need to register ahead of time, so you have a slot time to come in instead of everybody all coming in and everyone waiting in a long line. So the registration link is available. If you just go to the Kewaunee County government page, it's on there. And you can sign up for your time slot. It also takes farm pesticides if you need to dispose of any of those. And so it's home and farm. And again, that's Saturday, October 21st. I don't have the exact times, but that usually starts at 8 and runs until about noon, but I can look it up. But I'll have that for next month too, so. I have to remind you. And we can add that to the minutes too. If anyone wants that information, again, that's on the Kewaunee County government page.
Any other questions for Erica? All right, we'll move on then to Brian, USDA.
There's gonna be some extras. So I see some new faces. I'm Brian, I'm with USDA Wildlife Services. So there's a state wildlife damage abatement and claims program. And this is information going around. This is a handout that we can give to farmers, but this one is really wordy compared to my one page that I usually bring to the meeting. But it's got a lot of good information on it. So their state has a program, deer, bear, geese, turkey, elk, and cougar. The money comes from hunting license surcharges and bonus tag money. So hunters pay for it. And because I'm a federal employee in this county, we get some federal money coming in too with my salary and stuff like that. So it's a state program, county can have it or not, and then the county contracts with us, USDA. This is one of 4 counties that I cover, and we cover 52 counties in the state, our agency. So it's just a bunch of information. There's a bunch of different rules. They have to call us first. The next page is who's enrolled right now. And this is not exactly what you see on the website, the DNR website. This is a consolidated list that I put together for you. Tells you who's in for deer. There's 2 different options for deer. The Act 82, if you see the second column for the deer people, they're just getting the deer shooting permit. So they don't have to have a hunter access requirement and have to claim. They just are allowed to shoot deer with the permit outside the regular season and during the regular season. So there's quite a few goose enrollees. There's definitely a goose problem. And again, it's up to them to call us to get enrolled or for assistance. And none of my information is on here. If you need to contact me, you can go through Davina. Otherwise, I got myself or an 800 number that goes down to the pond.
Brian, is there a max number? Let's just use deer, for example, that will be allowed to be taken outside the season, and when that number is met, then the tags are pulled back.
It's never gotten to that. You know, they're not shooting that many deer. There's about 5. And they can ask for 5 more tags usually. In this county, it's not, they're not wiping out the deer. When I come in January, February, I'll have a list of how much each person shot in. It's not a lot of animals. But it does help the damage on their property.
Other questions for Brian?
And then just let me know when you need to.
So I'll be back next month. There's a budget that we have to approve for next year. Crop prices that the committee approves. I bring all that information and you can approve it or change it or do whatever you want. And then in January, February, I come back with I go and I appraise the crops before they're harvested. So we look at the damage and see if it's from the eligible species or not. And then we set the crop price and all that. So yeah, a lot of legwork right now. So that's all I got.
All right.
Are the goose, I've heard hearsay, but are the geese allowed to be eaten or taken home, or is that?
It's not hearsay. It's a stupid rule. It's the federal Fish and Wildlife Service rule. So if they have a goose shooting permit, it allows them to shoot geese. They could start May 1st and go until August 31st. So the regular season started September 1st. But with a goose shooting permit, they cannot keep the geese. They can either be incinerated, buried, or donated to but nobody wants them because they might have pellets, so pantries don't want them. So incinerated or buried, and that makes everybody mad. And that's what it is. I'm not in charge of that. Yeah, no, it's not hearsay. It's a, we're on TV. It's a dumb rule.
The people that are signed up for groups we're outside of that period now though, right? These would be.
Right, this is regular hunting now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, they can keep everything.
And for that to be changed, I would obviously have to be a legislative, go through the whole
That's a
federal,
federal
that's a
government.
federal.
Yeah.
Federal
It's
government,
just,
not
they
state.
don't allow, it's a more of a pest control situation, but I don't know why they can't keep the geese.
Any other questions for Brian?
I got a question. So we get geese by our place too, and somebody had asked to come and, because the problem was across the road. So he tries to take care of the problem, they just come across the road by us, and then he asked, and I said, yeah, you can. You know, is that pretty common where one person has a problem, they just chase them to somebody else, and, or does it, what happens with that?
That's part of it. I'm not sure where you're at, but I think I know. Yeah, and with the shooting permit, you can go within a quarter mile if the landowner gets permission. And it's a great way to get rid of a bunch of geese that are causing problems because they disappear during on-season. They're not on these properties during the season usually. They fly somewhere where they don't get shot. But yeah, part of it is abatement or harassment and moving them somewhere else. And then you give us a call.
Well, it's usually only some crops that they really, mess with,
But
but
you're talking about water quality. I mean, the amount of droppings that they have, the nutrients they're putting in the ponds that they buy, it's an issue.
All right. Thank you, Brian.
Yep, thank you.
We'll move on to other agency and organization reports. We have Jake here from Glacierland, and he'll give us an update on the invasive species control here in Kewaunee County. So I'll turn it over to you, Jake.
Great, thank you, guys. Should I give an overview of who we are in our relation to county?
I think so, 'cause yes, we have some new members here.
Absolutely. So my name's Jake Devine. I'm the invasive species coordinator for Glacierland RC&D. We're a small nonprofit that works in clean water, sustainable agriculture, and multiple use forestry. So I only work in our invasive species projects. And we work in a few capacities in the county. First is through the Lake Monitoring and Protection Network grant program, which is a state-funded program. So each year, the DNR offers a set amount of money allocated to each county for aquatic invasive species education and outreach. And that is offered to the county, and then the county is able to use that for a staff member or to designate an agent to fill those duties. And there's a scope of work laid out and agreed upon by all three parties. And so Glacierland is serving as a designated agent for education and outreach regarding aquatic invasive species. Major parts of that program are Clean Boats, Clean Waters. Even though that program doesn't fund it, we fund our Clean Boats, Clean Waters inspectors through a separate Clean Boats, Clean Waters grant from the state, which is additionally supplemented by a new grant from the Great Lakes Commission. So these are a lot of small funding sources that we put together to employ a watercraft inspector in Kewaunee County, which is also funded by the Kewaunee County Inland Lakes Association. They give us match to maximize that funding. So Clean Boats, Clean Waters, if you're not familiar, is just educating people about who are on boat landings on public lakes on the prevention steps for preventing the spread of invasive species. So inspecting your boat, removing any plants, animals, mud, and then draining all the water there. And there's some additional laws as well regarding fishing and transporting live fish. And it's just an education program. It's not an enforcement program of any kind. So if you've been on any of the public lakes here, we rotate lakes each year. I'm sure you come across someone in like a blue shirt with a clipboard, asked you a few questions and went over those steps. That's Clean Boats, Clean Waters. And so this year we were lucky to get a great applicant, Joseph Igali, Algoma native, who was to UWGB, and he's studying wildlife ecology. And he was able to work full-time in Kewaunee and Manitowoc. So we actually split his time. So 20 hours a week. It was Wednesday through Sunday. So not every day here, but 20 hours a week there. And that was he's able to start pretty early in late May and then work into mid-August. So all our numbers here were kind of increased by about a factor of about 100 because we got to spend more time this year. And that was helpful because of the additional funding, allowed him to work more hours. So over the summer, this year we were at Shays Lake and Crohn's Lake. We rotate between the 5 public lakes, and that comes from our sponsors at Kewaunee County Lakes Association, so they dictate where we are each year. But like I said, we're on our kind of our second rotation through them. But we did, so over the course of the summer, 199 boats were inspected. And inspected means him going up to the boat owner and taking a look and walking them through it. It's like I said, it's not an enforcement deal. But out of 199 boats, that's 372 people who heard those prevention steps, 387 hours spent. And then while they're there, they also ask a couple questions. We've had 67% of people had not been contacted this year, had not heard this message already. So that's, it's good that they are hearing it now. You know, that means we are reaching a lot of new people. I would say last year that actually was kind of reversed. So maybe that means more outside traffic. The other, it's hard to say just from that number. But 98% of people willing to answer questions. So they have an option, of course, to say no. And that's always been really high in the county. People have been really friendly. We've had good experiences at the boat landings from our inspectors. And then the last question we asked is, was your boat used in the past 5 days on a different water body? Helps us track boat or travel at the lakes we're at. Most people are saying no, you know, unless you're out on the water every other day, that usually it's no, but we had 16% of people said yes. And then we also asked where they were. So in case something does get noticed, maybe we have a way to track where those invasive species were coming from. So we get a list of where those other water bodies were. Just a quick outside of the county, I'll mention White Potato Lake and Oconto. You know, a lot of Crohn's, West Alaska, Shays, a lot of inter-county travel, East Alaska. But Long Lake, in Manitowoc County, it's a very busy lake, very close to Lake Winnebago. You know, obviously Lake Michigan, Shannon Lake, Vilas County, Shawana Lake, Shawana County, Harps Lake, Manitowoc County on the border there. And that was it. So not a whole lot of reports of people coming from Flathead County there. But why this kind of data is important and why it's so important that we give the same message every year to everyone who comes across. There are some threats that likely spread by boater travel. And the big ones that me and the DNR and other coordinators are concerned about in this area are spiny water flea. Have you guys heard of spiny water flea? A little bit, yeah. So that's not quite microscopic, but a very small invertebrate that eats zooplankton. And it's damaging to fish health because it eats the native food source for young fish. And then it doesn't provide a good substitute because of its spines. It makes it hard for small fish. It makes it impossible for small fish to eat. So the studies coming out about it are lakes with that are seeing much less healthy and smaller young fish populations. And once it's present, there isn't a method known for getting rid of it. All this data is very new, you know, and young, it's hard. We don't have long-term data and study on these things. So more information is coming out, but it was found in recent years in Lake Winnebago, and it's known in Lake Michigan. A lot of species are found in those two areas first for obvious reasons, but we're kind of in between those two hotspots. And then another threat that's in both those areas more recently found in Lake Winnebago is the starry stonewort, which is a plant. It's a grass. It's hard to identify just by its grass, but it does produce these small, very small, but white bulbules that's star-shaped in the sediment. So that is something that people are looking out for, but also just very hard to treat and can be pretty damaging to a lake's ecosystem. So there are two big things we're on the lookout for and why these education efforts are so important to make sure that people are not taking anything with them when they leave, properly drying, decontaminating when they're moving between water bodies. In addition to Joseph's work all summer, we had, and I'm going to go through different things here, but we had a larger intern effort for our Phragmites treatments, which I'll get into, but for the week of the 4th of July, that's a statewide, actually a regional-wide initiative called Landing Blitz, where it's just an emphasis on those kind of education, prevention steps, events. So we had 10 people, Joseph included, in Kewanee and Manitowoc. I think we had all 5 lakes covered for that week in Kewanee. So we set an extra effort for one of those busiest times of the year, which was really nice. And that also boosted our numbers, having extra people out there for that week. Other events that go through LMPN that are annual events, our train campaign happens in June. Again, the Clean Wheels, Clean Waters focused event. The state sends us extra towels and stickers and stuff and does statewide promotion. And then the Aquatic Invasive Species Snapshot Day, which is a citizen science monitoring event that happened in mid-August. So all across the state, there are sites in each county that volunteers are invited to. They learn how to identify aquatic invasive species, how to monitor for them, and then record the data and turn that in. And so that happens by happening at the same time all across the state. It's a great chance to kind of get a look and do some rapid response. Nothing alarming found at the sites in Kewanee. We went to river landings, Lake Michigan beaches, and inland lakes as well. So nothing new or out of the ordinary found from that. We need more volunteers. We had some great volunteers come in, but we definitely need more each year. This is only our 2nd year being involved in the county here, and our relationship with Davina and the county has been great, and then the Inland Lake Association. So I'm still building relationships and trying to find more groups. So that is top of my list to improve and expand this program. Other things on the agenda for the year, doing some waterfowl outreach, same kind of prevention steps for people doing waterfowl hunting. I was going to reach out to any sports clubs to hopefully talk to them this fall. I have spoken with one of the high school fishing team coaches about doing this prevention step training with the kids, so they start to learn, when you're fishing. And spiny water fleas often found dunked up on fishing lines, so that's a good group to target as well for things like species like that. Any other opportunities for education that you think might be prevalent, please let me know. We're going to continue to build this program in the coming years. Any questions on that before I go into Phragmites? I'll just move on. So in addition to that, Glacial Line does several managing grants for control of different invasive species, and our primary one has been non-native Phragmites. We have part of a larger partnership with the main partner being Stantec Consulting Services, who is the contractor who actually goes and does the treatments and handles the mapping. This has been a 10-year project starting in Manitowoc and Sheboygan, and now we're expanded into actively treating in 7 counties and mapping in 10. So we're going all the way up from Outagamie down to Ozaki. So we're moving north and west, but it's been primarily moving up the lakeshore from the south. So that's why we are moving in that direction. This year we've started our phase 1 in Kewanee County, and we are completed our treatments in the town of Carlton, and ongoing treatments are happening in the town of West Kewanee. And this is funded by the Wisconsin DNR Surface Water Grant Program. And so that each of those control grants offers $150,000 3-year program. So that much money spread over 3 years. And with that, we are able to estimating about 40 acres for that amount of money each year. So that's that initial treatment, the initial mapping, it's a bigger haul, the populations are the biggest size. And then in the subsequent years, that's where our intern program comes in. So each summer, we're hiring college students who are getting certified to apply herbicides through the DECAPS program, just like anyone else would. And then they are trained and supervised and work alongside Stantec professionals. So we're able to have them do the retreatments on populations for all of our Phragmites grant programs with backpack sprayers. That's something that they're able to do pretty easily after being trained, and their labor is significantly less than Stantec's labor. This is a way for us to try to make this money go farther to increase the affordability for if, when grant funding is done, that either the landowners, the towns, or whoever is able to, whoever the landowner is, to be able to afford continued treatment. We're seeing in all of our areas, we are seeing significant improvement in areas with annual continual treatment, but it is a long-term process that takes several years, and then honestly, long-term management by the landowners. But by significantly knocking these down with the grant funding, we can make long-term management a lot easier and a lot more affordable. So we're just starting here in Kewaunee. Those are the two areas we're tackling this year. And then that grant will cover the next 2 years of treatment as well. And now we're looking forward to applying for phase 2 this fall for 2024. Our target areas are going to be the city of Kewaunee and the town of Pierce. We are working off of data supplied by the Bay Lake Regional Planning Commission from a past project, but it's not very accurate and things have changed since they've updated that. So our best guess with the data we have is we're going to focus on the city. There's a large populations within the city, and then do partial treatment of the town of Pierce. That may change depending on what we find when we actually go in and do the mapping, but that is our plan. And all of these control grants are supplemented by a federal SOGL grant that provides education and outreach and some treatment, as well as glacial land staff time. So that $150,000 is just to the field crews going in the cost of treatment. And then we've also been awarded a landscape scale restoration grant from the U.S. Forest Service to treat Phragmites in forested wetlands, especially in areas with emerald ash borer damage. So that can help supplement treatments in the areas where that applies. So it's a big puzzle piece that we put together, so it's a lot of work to manage, but we've been really grateful for the support we've gotten with those. I'm explaining all the numbers because with those surface water grants, we require a 25% match for the phase 1. The county has been able to provide, and that's in kind. It doesn't have to, it's not cash, but it's in kind time that includes staff time, helping us reach out to landowners, send postcards, send letters so that landowners can give us permission. If we don't get permission from the landowners, we can't treat it. If everyone doesn't participate when this, is offered for free, that's going to decrease the effectiveness of our actual treatments over the long term. And we've also been grateful to have some staging area provided, water provided. Herbicide is obviously mixed with water. It's diluted down to an aquatic approved formulation. So we are asking the county for this phase 2, for this new area expansion, able to provide some kind of in-kind match. Whatever you can provide is appreciated, and we'll find ways to get what we need to get that funding. But I've provided a letter of support draft if you can look over. It's basically the same as the one for the previous grant, but that pre-app will be going out this Friday, and the actual application will be going out November 15th. And that's the deadline for anything. The pre-application is just a notification and a
Same as
plan.
last year.
Yep.
Yep, we got our support.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I'm great for the county. So.
Yeah, and our response from landowners has been great, but we still need more. So spreading the word, and if you have Phragmites on your property and your neighbors do too, please talk to them. Please share my information. People can call me to report. We have a public reporting web map where you can see all the areas we've mapped, and you can actually report if there is a population somewhere. If that's not your thing, you can always call me and I can do it as well. Just need to be able to lead me to it on the satellite map. But any questions about the program, you'll be able to reach me pretty easily. almost any day, most times of the day. The other project members are often in the field. I'm usually behind the desk. I'm more administrative than the field crew. So my contact is the best to talk about Phragmites. And I'm also just the point of contact for aquatic invasive species. So really, it's my job to be available and answer questions. That was a lot. Quickly, yes, please.
Is there anything landowners can do to help with Phragmites on their own?
Yeah, it is tough to deal with manually because it spreads by seed and it also spreads by its rhizomes, and it has a very expansive and a very hardy root system. So, well, if the only thing you could do was mow, it would make it have to regrow, but there's so much energy stored in those root systems that you're not going to be able to kill it. No one's had success doing that. It certainly could stop the spread of seed production, but it also clones itself by its roots. And that's why it grows so thick and so dense. So really the only effective means that we have is herbicide control, and there are 2 approved herbicides. There's a whole fact sheet on treating it. If you're someone who can go and spray on your own land property and you want to do that on your own, please and welcome to it, and I can help you find those resources. And we use, like I said, obviously it's an aquatic approved. It is an aquatic plant, even though it often could be in like a drainage ditch or something, but considered an aquatic plant. And we use an herbicide that you spray onto the leaves, and then it's absorbed and it translocates and it goes down and and it kills the whole plant through root kill. So there are certain formulations of specific things and ways to do it, but if landowners want to take it upon themselves to manage it, happy to help with that in any way we can. We are offering in the areas we're working in, that same service for free there. Yeah. People have tried prescribed burning as a way, but it can get complicated. It's not something you can just go cut.
Okay.
Yeah, there's tons of resources out there though. There's a lot of people who are working on this problem. It's a problem all over the Great Lakes.
Do you have your contact information?
Yeah, I have cards.
Your cards.
Yeah, I'm happy to provide.
And then another question, being that it's long-term treatments, and so once you get an area and you're on the
Yes.
threshold of it being gone, are there any
Yeah.
good strategies? I mean, or tree planting that if you can get a canopy from a tree, in shade, or what should landowners look for if they get it under control to try to prevent it from coming right back in that area?
And anytime you're removing a species, it's very important to replace because otherwise it opens it up for potentially another invasive species. So it really depends on the site. There's not like a good answer. But when Stantec, part of their process, if they have an area that is eradicated, because we're going back to the same spots each year, they plant native seed. They at least throw out some native seed. It's not very extensive, it's kind of limited in what they're doing. But yeah, it would be native plantings. And so that would really depend on the site. If it's next to a lake, you're not going to plant a tree, but if there's in a ditch or, that's a whole different thing. So, but yes, native planting is a good way to do that. And that's part of that landowner management as well. If it's somewhere you can, I'm sure I know that there's programs out there for like pollinator plantings and stuff.
NRCS has a lot of pollinator plantings.
Yeah.
They have bee protection, they have monarch protection plantings. That actually may be a really good idea too.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the person I would go talk to. It's not really in our capacity to assist with that with the programs we currently have. We're treating thousands of properties and we do it from July to October, so it's kind of run around and when we work very fast at that time.
Laura Watson at NRCS is.
But yeah, I would love to collaborate there and maybe there should be a way for us to present info. So that's something we can definitely, I had in my capacity to at least talk with someone there.
Jake, is there a concern, you guys have been working on this for the last couple of years, which has been great to kind of eradicate it, but now with the emerald ash borer coming in, we're seeing like just the black ash swamp, for example, hundreds of acres that are going to be taken over by this Phragmites. Is there going to be a way to get ahead of that, or is that up to the landowner? I mean, it seems like this Phragmites is popping up in a lot of places where these ash are dead now.
I'm sure, yeah.
Or is it just a matter of reaching out to you guys and you guys will do the best you can to get in and treat those areas and then the landowner?
Yeah, the best way to deal with invasive plants is prevention. Because once it's present, it's gonna cost time and money to get rid of. And the bigger the patch, the more time and money, right? And the more continued years of treatment. It's just the reality of dealing with plants, right? So dealing with the existing ones, these are the programs that are grant funded. Stantec works for hire as well, and there are other companies that deal with it. Or, if you're someone who can go out and treat yourself, just make sure you're taking proper safety precautions and, protecting yourself when you're using herbicides. So I want to make sure people know that information. But yeah, I mean, dealing with it as soon as possible for sure. If it's hard when areas are clear cut, that we're seeing that problem all over. We're working on, we do a lot of restoration and work on public lands as well. And we're dealing with that with Elmwood Ash Board. A lot of that's supported by U.S. Forest Service with those forested wetlands or other forested areas where we're doing native tree planting, native shrub plantings, native different stuff after we've removed invasives that have come into recently opened up canopies. So there's work to be done about it, and it can be restored, and we're seeing progress there. But if you can get ahead of it, it's going and planting stuff for sure. We need to fill that space so that, and then take out things that are coming in that you don't want as quickly as possible. I can help in that way through my programs by offering identification training, providing resources. I have the capacity to do a little research for landowners, at least provide them with information if they don't know how to find it. Yeah, but that's what I can offer with the money and the programs we have right now.
Do you have any other questions for Jake?
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you just want to leave some of your cards.
I'm just going to leave a big stack and you can keep the extras.
Yep.
Hand them out, please.
Will do.
We appreciate the relationship you have with the county and doing the work you do here to try to keep that down. So,
Yeah.
Good working relationship. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
All right. With that, we'll move on to other matters to discuss. And I just want to touch base on the Tucker Birch presentation. At this time, the Land Conservation Committee is not asking Tucker Birch to present to Kewaunee County. This was discussed at our May 23rd LCC meeting, and no further discussion has been requested by committee members. The LWCD and the public health are collectively continue to follow up on reported illnesses as required by state statute, as well as all well testing results. And the main reason that we're not going to ask him to come in is the data that he presented in his presentation does not match or correlate with the data that Cindy has in the public health department. And Cindy's numbers are the real numbers that she sees every year that have to be reported. Kim, I don't know if you can add on to that, what comes out of Cindy's department over the reasons.
It's the truth. Any cases that have happened, if they go to the doctor, they get reported to her immediately. So her facts are 100% accurate, 100%. There's no false act. There is nothing false coming out of Cindy's office. Cindy does an amazing job. She works very well with Davina. But the two of them together, when there is something that happens, they are on it immediately. They not only they are with the people that it happens to, they're around the area of where it happened. So it's 100% accurate. That's all I have to say. There is nothing false that comes out of it, and the jobs that the two of those people are doing are unbelievable. They work very well together on the well testing, both of them. So I really have nothing else to say. They just do an amazing job, both of them together.
Yeah, so at this time, I'm not going to ask Tucker to present.
And it's not only the doctor's office, right, Kim? I mean, anything that goes to
Anything,
any health
anything,
clinic,
anything.
hospital.
So if somebody's saying that they have E. coli, why are they not going to Cindy? Because your pretty much contradicting and then saying that Cindy is false. And all of her stuff is like, again, 100%. There is no false coming out of that office at all.
Gastrointestinal
Exactly.
disease at a health clinic is reported.
And
required by law to be
Davina has
reported.
done an amazing job with the well testing. So anything that has come back to Davina, you followed up, you sat on those 4 immediately. You also contacted Cindy. So, you know, at this time, and both of them, Aaron, I think, I mean, maybe I'm overstepping, but they agree, not at this point, they feel they're on top of things.
Correct.
So it's not just a conversation, Aaron, that you just had. They've had it, you've had it with the other departments. Everyone is on board with it.
All right, we'll move on to scheduling future meetings. Tim is not here, but he did ask me this morning if we could schedule another night meeting. I'm not opposed to that.
So my thoughts is we're doing well testing on October 16th. So I am going to assume the beginning of December because November is going to be hunting. December, I'm going to assume that our well testing results seminar will be at the beginning of December. So maybe have that beginning of December meeting prior to the well testing meeting.
Yep, and the only question I have is, Brian, do we have anything in December that we're gonna need to have any action items on for you?
Probably not.
Probably not, okay. So,
Nothing that could be dealt with.
okay,
That's
So-
usually October.
Okay.
that's what I thought, October or January.
So we have October 10th. And then if we did November 14th, that would be sticking with the second Tuesday of the month. And then we'll just hold December. Once we have that meeting with Kevin, it's always a Wednesday night. It always starts at 6, so it'll be a 5 o'clock meeting. But as soon as I get that date or a couple of dates, I'll send it out to the committee.
Sure, that should work.
November 14th most likely won't work for me, but I'm only one on the committee, so.
And I'm pretty open in November. So there's November 7th would be the first Wednesday or the first Tuesday.
Wait, I'm lost. You're looking at November again, because the 14th, we're gonna skip it.
Nope,
No, the 14th would be our schedule.
Nick said the 14th doesn't work for him.
Okay, so we're gonna move that one, but we're not gonna do the December one yet, right?
December, we don't have the date
We
yet.
don't have
Correct.
these.
I have to talk to Kevin on what day he thinks he can come for the well testing results seminar. Well, I don't know if you
So-
want to move to November 7th or depends on the committee. I'm open both the 7th or the 14th.
Yeah, I'm open either of them, as long as you are too. I
Yep, I
mean,
would be okay in the summer.
So
we
move,
can move the 7th.
move to the November 7th then. And then, yes, I will get a hold of Kevin and set the December date.
But we would start with a 5 o'clock meeting.
It'd be a
and
5
then roll
o'clock
to the
and
6
then,
o'clock
yep,
well.
and then the 6 PM would be the well testing. Yep, we do it back to back.
All right, is there any other matters anybody wants to bring up?
I don't have anything else.
Hearing none, we'll move to chairman's wrap up. Just want to thank Jake and Brian for coming today and presenting their data. With that, we'll look for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Motion by Kim, second by Nick. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Adjourned at 9:25.